One last chip for everybody to enjoy.
You guys caught me. I'm sorry.
You're really embarrassed? I don't see you getting embarrassed about that.
I'm feigning
I wouldn't say that. Yeah, you're pretending to be dainty and embarrassed about it. All right. So all right. Looks like, are we coming in live right now? All right. Let's
coming in hot.
Coming in hot. With some hot chips in your ear. All right, that's not what we're going to do today. Hello, everyone. This is Trends with Benefits. This is our weekly Roundtable Tech podcast here at Digital Trends. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we're also a podcast, but we do broadcast live on Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook. All four of those ones. And we are live right now, and we have... We are everywhere. We are pretty much everywhere. And... since we are live, we love to hear feedback, comments, questions that you have while we're doing this show. We have a lot of stuff to get to today. Well, later on today, we're going to be talking about the Amazon Fire TV Cube that came out. We're going to talk about an E3 preview. Hanif's going to give us that. But first and foremost, we're going to be discussing everything that went on with Apple this week. Not everything, but some highlights and some lowlights and some different things that we came away with from it. And we want to know your thoughts on that. And that was kind of the question they put out is, what were your thoughts on Apple's announcements this week at WWDC, which is their worldwide developers conference that was down in San Jose. I guess technically it's still going, but I think most of the announcements have been made right now. So as we're going through, let me know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. We'll get those comments in. If you have questions, we will get to those as well. But let's introduce our cast of characters today. I'm Greg Nibler, and to my right,
Hanif Jackson, Team Flapjack.
Team Flapjack. I always forget until you say it. Team Flapjack, Hanif Jackson right here. And
the Whiskey Mist.
The Whiskey Mist, a.k.a. Caleb Denison. I wonder how many people don't even know the Caleb part of your name. They just think Whiskey Mist.
You know, I the more the merrier. That's fine. That's fine by me. I'd rather be known as the Whiskey Mist anyway.
Have you secured that URL yet?
No, I haven't. I really should because I'm going to go after that now that you mentioned it. I hope it's still available. But yeah, you know, with the scandalous stuff that I say on the podcast, this is kind of the place where I just let it all out. I just let it go.
Steamy.
There's no filter. I don't want that getting cross-moginated with my professional Caleb Denison TV reviewer.
Cross-moginated?
Yeah, you watch for the cross-mogination, man.
Okay.
It can either go really well or really wrong. So, the potential here is for bad. So, yeah, you're right. Let's just go with Whiskey Mist. In fact, don't ever say Caleb again on this podcast.
Okay, all right. I'm glad we cleared that. Glad we cleared that up. Good day to have on as well the editor-in-chief of Digital Trends, Mr. Jeremy Kaplan. So he is joining us via our in-house robot. So just for sound-wise, if you're listening to the podcast, visually, he is a square sitting on top of a peg right now.
Yeah.
Jeremy, hello.
Hi, it's good to be here, and Caleb, you're fired.
I believe that is the second time in a row that Jeremy's been on and Caleb has been let go.
Yeah, I keep getting fired on this podcast.
I don't think you actually work here.
It's a recurring theme. It's a gag, right?
He just keeps showing up.
Right?
All right, let's get into this. We have so much stuff to get through today. So let's talk about Apple. So the big event was down in San Jose. It's what started on Tuesday. I got to get my dates up here as far as the actual date. But our own Jeremy Kaplan was down there at this event. And I thought maybe before we get into the different things as far as concerned with the announcements, what is it like going to this event, to something like this, for an Apple event?
Well, it's always kinds of events. Apple events are usually very, very staged events. I wanted to draw a distinction between the event that just took place and some of the traditional Apple events, because when they have an iPhone launch or if there's some other product launch, it's a script then very, very different than the WWDC one, which caters to all the developers. So the bulk of people that are at this show are developers that are not just passionate about Apple, but are rabidly passionate about Apple, like super enthusiastic fans. So of the event, as a journalist getting there, you want to get there early and get a good place in line for whatever reason, because they have lines to let you in and it's utterly meaningless. But whatever, we all truck down early. And I remember I'm like the third person in line, and there's already dozens of developers that are sitting there. In fact, they've been lined up since the night before. And personally, I'm a little tired by the morning of, I'm ready to get in and get it over with. And these guys are cheering and high-fiving. There's just this incredible passion and enthusiasm.
Wow.
And that, to me, that was one of the biggest things, the coolest things about WWDC is just seeing that energy that comes out of all of these developers there.
Do they
It
sleep
just
in tents?
I'm sorry?
Do they sleep in tents? Like, do they literally camp out?
There's no tents, but they're just on the sidewalk, I think, standing out, hanging out.
My fantasy has been crushed. I really want to see these developers hanging out in tents. They fire up their hibachi, like the guys at the corner of my street. Fire up the hibachi and maybe have some skewers. And
It's not like a Call of Duty release. It's not the same thing.
Well,
if you
it's
brought
still.
a hibachi, then you'd have to bring it into the actual event, which would just be kind of weird.
I'm pretty sure you would get kicked out. That's why I don't get to go to these things anymore. Is because I keep bringing barbecues to the Apple events and they boot me out.
That's what happens.
That-
So we never
yeah.
get
Well-
reinvited.
No, I'm out. I am blacklisted.
Well, it does sound exciting. That is one of the things about Apple, that it inspires that much out of people. And I can see people in the chat are already clamoring to find out about the announcements as far as what went on. I mean, and there is, there's a lot that went on at this thing, and then there was some stuff that I think we kind of missed out on. So maybe just starting at the top, I mean, iOS 12, obviously, probably the biggest announcement, but that's going to be coming out later this year when people will be able to update your phone with that, and some of the things that came along with it. Myself, not being an iPhone user, I've always been an Android user, so I'm always interested to see what these developments are. Some years it feels like, okay, Apple's kind of playing catch up with Android in a way, in a few ways, but now this year it does kind of seem like they're taking a step forward. And maybe you guys can walk through like some of the big things for iOS.
Jeremy, you should start that one because I know that you have a few that you're fairly excited about.
Is that they really stressed in the announcement of the iOS 12 update was a real focus on performance and improving the overall system, which I think is super important. Anybody that's got a phone that's a year or two old knows that it starts to slow down a little bit, and you'll agree that Android phones definitely do this dramatically more than iPhones do. It's just a general flaw with the Google operating system. iPhone does it too. And when it comes to like launching applications and things, it slows down a little bit. And just there's a limitation to the actual software there. So one of the things that they stressed was that iOS 12 is going to launch apps 50 to 100% faster. It's going to boot faster. And everything is just going to take away this layer of sludge that's built up in there. We haven't really had a chance to test it too effectively yet, too thoroughly. There are some developer versions that are out, but like the actual public beta is not coming out for a couple of weeks. The iPhone 10 for a couple of months now, and even that super fast new phone, I think would just an overall speed treatment. So that's pretty damn cool.
So giving it a little bit of a speed treatment as far as where it was before. Just real quick though, for everybody tuning in, there's a little bit of an internet connection issue just with when you're coming through, but I think for the most part it's all coming through on what you're talking about. So just that increased speed is one of the biggest things.
Apparently it is. I guess I'm one of the people who does not had a huge problem with speed decreases on my phone. I managed to get 3 years out of my phone without it bogging down too much.
Yeah.
And that's because I try to treat my battery with respect and love, and it works out okay for me. But anything that is going to speed up the phone, I think, is going to be appealing to people. I was more interested in some of the updates that they're giving to other things like tvOS, and AirPlay 2 coming out, to kind of enhance the user experience from that standpoint. The HomePod can now be paired in stereo. That's one thing, but now we're going to see the HomePod and your phone and Apple TV 4K talking to each other in ways that they didn't before, and I think that's important to kind of up the ante for the Apple TV 4K. It was way behind when it came out and didn't have all the right features, just like the HomePod, way behind when it came out and didn't have the right features, but it's coming up. It's stepping up.
Well, we're going to talk about that here in just a few. We're going to talk specifically about the HomePod and smart homes in general, as far as what they had.
I'm getting ahead of you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. No, we're getting to it. There's a lot of exciting things to talk about. And again, if you're watching live, I want to hear what you think and how you feel about it. Keelan just wrote, I remember Apple being the culprit with intentionally slowing phones. How did this just turn into an Android problem is what he's saying as far as where that is. So just some different comments. Yeah, different comments and questions here as far as what people are thinking about. With the iOS 12 updates, I thought there was a couple of things that were really cool as far as that was, speeding up the phone. I think there's some of those additions. The being able to measure things, I guess that's maybe part of the AR kit. I know that's such a small thing, but to me, that's awesome. And what it was, in case you don't know, you can hold up your phone and actually measure something in real space, so say I want to measure this board that's in front of me. I can hold up my phone and just drag it from one end to the other like a tape measure and get an accurate real measurement. I think that's a really useful tool, but maybe that's not. No. Jeremy is shaking his head vociferously right now.
That is not at all useful. That is a terrible thing. In fact, so there's been this emphasis with AR on applications that will let you see what a piece of furniture or something looks like in your real world.
Yeah.
Which I think makes a little bit of sense. So there's an IKEA app, for example, that's been very frequently talked about where you want to buy a new armchair. Here's what the armchair looks like in your room. And so the tape measure application is a very important part of that. However, how often do you buy armchairs? Like, I'm not in the market for a damn armchair, and I'm probably not going to be for the next couple of years. There is a whole world of cool things that could happen with augmented reality. And Apple talking about the tape measure, I think, is missing the entire boat on the whole thing. But there was a fantastic demo of this Lego castle. I don't know if you want to get to that later, if you want to talk about that now.
No, we could talk about that now, too. Because just talking about the augmented reality part, and again, that's a great question for everybody listening live, too. Is that something you're excited about, or do you just not even care about that aspect of phones? And I feel like there's people on both sides of that, or maybe just ambivalent. You haven't seen anything that wows you. So tape measure, not Jeremy's thing, but the Lego display, in case you didn't see that, what it was is they had like a Lego house that was built, and they held up their phones, or tablets is what they were using, and they held it over it, and then enhanced things would pop up via augmented reality, showcasing the different characters were moving around, different things would pop up. You could go inside the building, showcasing what you can do with AR with that. And you think that's something that's going to grow into something more, or what do you think, Jeremy?
That just blew me away. And there's, like, for one thing, I like Legos. So call me crazy, but I like Legos because I hate Legos. But beyond that, though, there are two important aspects of that little demo. One was the fact that it was multi-person. So if you and a friend are both playing with your Legos, which is kind of what happens on a Friday night, we can both see the same augmented reality experience. And I think that's really amazing that you can share that with somebody else. Now we're talking about useful things rather than tape measures.
Yes.
And then beyond that, Apple announced a new feature which allows to save state, which means that if you build out your Lego castle and you've got your little Lego guy here and you got your little Lego guy here and you got your chair, things all set up exactly the way you like it, you can sort of press pause, put your phone down, and 3 or 4 days later you come back and that Lego house is still there. So all of a sudden you're talking about like an experience I've created that I've shaped that I can return to. So if you're playing like an augmented reality board game, for example, like picture a game of Risk where actual castles are built up and you've got the little players you're moving around, you're building your armies up and whatnot, you could come back to that months or even years later and it'll still be sitting there for you. I think that sort of gets to some, in my eyes, to what there's going to be.
I like that idea. I like the Risk idea, although I banned myself from playing Risk because I get too mad when I lose. But just that game, that's the only one. But no, that kind of idea of augmenting that, something that's already, now I can kind of see where you're going with that. That is something that I could see definitely being useful and utilized in a lot of different ways.
I'm going to go ahead and get myself fired again and say...
Go for round 3. Three's the charm.
That, I mean, I'll just take the opposite viewpoint from Jeremy on this one particular occasion because, and maybe it's because I spent the last 3 weeks moving, but a tape measure app for my phone would be amazing. It would have saved my ass so many times over the last 3 weeks. Like, I definitely understand why that's cool and useful. I assume it works. Saying that, if it doesn't actually work, then
that's my big question.
Then a big middle finger to that thing. But if it works, it could really help me out. You know, especially when it comes to doing home entertainment setups. What if I'm rearranging my room? You know, if I'm doing landscaping, yard work, whatever. Like, I can see that coming in handy. I have a 9-year-old daughter. I have a 4-year-old stepson. None of us is sitting in the living room on Friday night with a Lego castle looking through our phones and going, "Ooh, look at the little ant farm that's happening there," but not really happening. Like that never happens.
Just begging for it right now.
And I just don't see that it's ever going to happen. And for me, I guess the Risk example is actually a really good one. But for the rest of the time during the demo, I was just like, this to me is why don't I just go play SimCity on my phone? Like I don't see it reaching beyond that. But I think that may actually just be my own limitation in thinking about the ways AR itself is cool. I'm just not sure that Apple is leading the way to making AR cool. For the masses. I don't know if they're there yet.
All right. Well, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at. And again, I want to see what everybody thinks as far as that's concerned. Hanif, what do you think about that? I mean,
I think there's some good,
obviously a gamer.
Yeah, I think there's some good practical applications outside of just gaming for AR. I think the tape measure. I'm on Caleb's side. I think it is pretty practical.
You're gonna have to switch to team tape measure.
But and nothing against Legos. I'm sure it was really cool, but. I think with gaming right now and VR being in existence and their struggle to get that off the ground, I think AR is even a step further away from that. So from a gaming perspective, I think we're still off. But
do you think AR is cooler than VR in general, though? Or do you think VR is cooler than AR?
Me personally, I like VR better.
Really?
Yeah, I just kind of like the idea of being shut out from everything. But there's still some good applications for AR, like the outside the tape measure. I can think of like construction needs if you just want to visualize like something like the good example that I always think of is the HoloLens. They always they had that guy who's like an elevator shaft, like mapping out the blueprints in the elevator shaft. Like that seems really cool. And that's
I want to know
just
how to fix my car.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Like
I want to hold my phone up.
Exactly. And it shows you what hoses to connect or something like that.
There's my alternator, and that's the bolt that has to come out first. But that's why I like
we're
AR.
Still so far off from that as a thing.
Yeah.
So, and back to the tape measure, my big question with that is how well does it work? Like, is it really that accurate to the millimeter?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you know what works really well for measuring things is an and you know how much it costs? Like $5. Go buy a tape measure, and you have none of these concerns, and it's always on, and the batteries don't die.
Yeah, but it's like floppy and flaccid, and it doesn't stay like you know what I'm talking about when you're trying to measure a long distance and it just falls on you, and then you have to start over, and you have to have a second person. And I mean, I get your point, Jeremy. I want to love this tape measure.
Now I just want to see a video of Caleb trying to measure something where it's just falling over left and right.
It's like those infomercials where they just can't do it right.
Oh no!
My flaccid Stanley just flopping around in the wind.
All right, let's move on to our next thing here. So past the tape measure, past AR.
I'm definitely fired now.
Couple final things that we want to talk about because we also want to get to the Amazon Fire TV Cube that came out earlier today. That we have got some news on that, and Hanif has an E3 preview, kind of highlighting 3 things from that for next week. So continuing on though with Apple, I thought the live listen, I think is what it's actually called, aspect for the Apple AirPods is pretty cool. And what it is, it's kind of designed as basically a hearing aid for people. So you know what the AirPods are, the wireless earbuds that Apple has, and now this live listen feature is going to be available for everybody, where essentially say you're in a room with a whole bunch of noise, and it's from what I understand how this will work, you're in a room with a whole bunch of noise, you're hard of hearing, you put these in, and as long as somebody is near the iPhone, you can kind of hand it around, it'll pipe that sound directly into your ears, kind of filter out some of the background noise. I think that aspect is pretty cool. I think that's something that's useful, especially for people with hard of hearing. I don't know, what do you guys think? Is this innovative, or is this just...
Caleb, you're anti-AirPod, right?
You know what? I think the AirPods were the first wireless earbuds, totally wireless earbuds. You have to clarify it these days. That got it right. Like they don't sound good. They're not comfortable. But from a functionality perspective,
you look like a derp.
And then yes, you have golf tees hanging out your ears. But from a functionality perspective, they did do it better than anybody else when they came out. Jeremy, did you get to try this aspect of them at all? Okay, then I'm gonna.
Didn't really.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say stupid because I have tried other earbuds that do this kind of thing, and all it does is it takes what's happening around you and makes it louder and makes it private, and that's really not that useful. Hearing aids are created in very special ways for the people's needs, right? So if you have hearing loss in the upper frequencies, it might boost some of those a little bit for you. Now, if there's an app that helps me customize what the AirPods are doing to my specific hearing needs, or lets me reduce certain frequencies, like the Braggy, or I think it was the Braggy or something like that. You could actually noise cancel certain frequencies to kind of clear up the din and whatnot. Now, if you can do that, if there's an app thing that lets you do that for the AirPods, awesome. Now we're talking about something. But if it just takes what your phone hears and pipes it into your earpods, I don't see that being all that useful.
So you think that's more of just a marketing thing than an actual innovative design?
I don't know what they had in mind. I'm not sure what they were going for there. Did you get a sense?
Previously, they said it was reserved for hearing aids that were certified through the company's Made for iPhone hearing aid program, and now it's going to be available for everybody. So it was supposedly designed for hearing impaired.
My worry there is that the earpods, one of their biggest problems is that they don't seal out the outside noise. So they don't control what you're hearing. You're hearing whatever's being blasted into your ear plus everything that's bleeding through, right? So if you're in New York and the subway's loud or the bus is passing by, or as we all know, constantly sirens coming by, unless it blocks that stuff out and helps you select what you're actually hearing, then it's not going to be a huge advantage. I'll try it out though.
Send us a pair, please.
By the way, send a pair. All right, let's get down to the last couple of things here to talk about with Apple, or whatever else, if there's something else in particular that stood out for you guys. A couple of things that I thought were interesting. Apple Maps has been brought up here on this show before. How frustrating Apple Maps is. And now with Apple CarPlay, you're going to be able to skip over using that. It's going to be now, I don't know if it was previously compatible, right? It was not previously compatible with Waze or Google Maps.
Yeah.
Now you'll be able to use both.
They weren't an option before, but they're going to be now. And I know so many people who are going to be really stoked about this.
I feel like that's a big step for Apple to just say, yeah, okay, we get it. We'll go ahead and let these other ones come in, because they're usually so protective of that stuff. They want you in their ecosystem. Jeremy, or go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I remember the rollout of Maps and how disastrous that was, and and so and I think they just kind of threw in the towel. They're like, "Yep, we
give up."
Give up.
Yeah.
Well, they were supposed to start crowdsourcing, to make it better, and I feel like they did or didn't start doing that, but definitely didn't get better.
Jeremy, what do you think?
I think it's interesting that you bring that up, Hanif, because I think in this long-standing, this common perception, conventional wisdom, I should say, that Apple Maps is just not particularly good. And despite all of the work that Apple may or may not have done, I think that conventional wisdom just sits there, and people are sort of low-level, I know I can do better. You get an iPhone, the first thing you do is put Google Maps on it, right?
Exactly.
And it's funny, with this announcement, I hadn't even, we talked a lot and it never even processed in my head that that's going to force you to use this horrible Apple Maps experience. That's actually kind of a fun with CarPlay. So and when they announced this during the keynote, it's very telling that the image that they brought up on the screen and on the Jumbotron, 40 feet wide or whatever it was a picture of the dash with Google Maps right there. Boom.
Yeah.
We know that this is a problem. We're going to let you fix it. We're here for you. Stop using our terrible app. Use the other one. It's fine.
I'm disappointed that they held out for so long, because CarPlay seems relatively new, but it's not. It's been around for a few years now, and they really, really held out for a long time. And myself and a lot of people I know, even though they have CarPlay in their car, which is supposed to eliminate this need, still have the mount so that they can put their phone within view, because even though CarPlay can play Spotify and Pandora and whatever else and read you your text messages and all those things, which is great, the thing that you need the most, the navigation portion of it, you had to go back to your phone screen to get any kind of quality navigation. And the cool thing about Waze is that I think that it really does propose some great alternate routes to help get you around BS. Yeah. It's saved me anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. Going north to Seattle from Portland, for those of you who don't know, is a nightmare at certain points during the day. It's a nightmare, period, but in certain points of the day, you just shouldn't even go. Yeah. Waze will let you know when to get off and take some crazy surface streets, and you will, if you go back and forth and you compare, Apple Maps is quoting you a 2.5 hour trip, and Waze is quoting you an hour and 45-minute trip.
Dang, I'm gonna have to use that next time.
There is that kind of disparity in certain situations.
It doesn't also allow for real-time user feedback. If there's a wreck and someone can just report it, and then it'll adjust based on that.
Police reported ahead.
Yeah.
Saved me many times.
I bet.
Well, and that is something that's going to be able to be used now with Apple CarPlay. So that definitely sounds like something that's going to be popular with everyone. Just a couple more things, and then I know we need to get on with time here and to get to the other things that we want to talk about. But the noticeable absence really was a lot of smart home. A smart home innovation, smart home products. It doesn't seem like there was much at all for that. And that's just one area where Apple, it notoriously is behind Google and Amazon. I think everybody knows that. But why are they not trying to push into this? And it's not like they don't have the money. It's not like they don't have the talent or the ability. Why are they not making a bigger push with this?
I got to guess. And probably the same thing with like the Waze situation. They might just be throwing in the towel.
You think they're throwing in the towel completely?
It could be. This could be a sign.
That'd be a big mistake.
I don't think so, man. Like HomePod was a big part of what was supposed to make HomeKit easier to use and more manageable for people. They give you the digital assistant in a more Siri, we'll call her, in a more accessible way, and make HomeKit devices really easy to control. Jeremy, what was it like to be there? Did you feel like the absence of the smart home conversation while you were there?
Oh, absolutely. It was like a glaring hole in the whole thing. And it's funny to your comment, Hanif. There was one announcement, like a little small announcement that they made, that when you have when you're using the Apple Watch and you try to get to Siri, you don't have to say, Siri, do this. You can just drop Siri's name entirely and just speak to the watch, and it'll respond to you, which is kind of cool. Like, it saves you a little bit of time. But also, to me, says, hey, we're downplaying the fact that there's this assistant. The approach that Amazon's been taking, where it's Alexa everything, and we're all getting really a little too familiar with this dominating our lives. And kids today are growing up with Alexa.
And parents.
There's an opportunity. Yeah, and parents too. Opportunity for Siri to be the same kind of a presence in people's lives. And Apple's saying, well, you don't even need to use the name here. The whole smart home thing, like at CES this year, we saw Google Home everywhere. We saw Alexa in.
Oh, I think we lost you.
Did we lose him?
Well, hopefully it'll come back, but that is a great screen grab. Somebody take a picture
of that right now. So if you're watching live, we were having a little connection issues there, so we did just lose.
Quickly before he unfreezes.
There we go. We got it. This will
I'll
be
write him right
somewhere.
now. We lost you. Okay.
But
so
yeah,
we'll have Jeremy back
I
in
have
here
a
in just a
feeling I
second.
know where Jeremy was going with that, and that is just that the last couple of CESs, Alexa's been everywhere. Then Google Assistant coming in hot. And a lot of people are developing new devices and retrofitting old devices to work with those things. They are jumping on board like crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's a very big missed opportunity for Apple. They've got Siri.
They've got to catch up.
Siri itself is just not competitive. Like Alexa and Google Assistant do so much more. And the fact that you have to plug your phone into CarPlay in order for Siri to read you your text messages and then ask if you want to dictate it back and then carry that whole text conversation hands-free.
Yeah.
Why are they sticking that in just CarPlay? Let us have that just with our phone or our iPad for that matter.
Right. Well, we'll have to see, if they make a push back into it or where they're going to go with it. We do have Jeremy back. So, hello, Jeremy. Can you hear us?
Sorry about that. Network troubles.
Good. We got you back. That's okay. That is the magic of technology. So, let's just kind of wrap up, though, about the smart homes. It seems like Apple does need to make a push back into this if they're going to go anywhere. It's not going to go away. This is a segment that's growing immensely. I don't know what the statistics are on it, but I'm sure it's very high growth. And Apple is way far behind right now in getting involved with this. And I think a case in point even is bringing up what we're going to talk about next, which is not Apple related, but the Amazon Fire TV Cube, which came out today. The Cube.
It's the Borg for your TV.
It does. It looks so. This is a new product. It looks like a Borg. It's basically. It does. It looks like a Borg ship.
Futile.
And so it's a big black box, is what we're looking at. And this thing is pretty amazing in that it combines everything. It seems like everything that we've wanted to have combined into one system is now combined into one system when it comes to televisions. Jeremy, you wrote an article and review of this. Maybe you can sum it up for everybody, like what is all included with this.
Yeah. So I had a little hands-on with this yesterday. It was a very neat product. We think about streaming devices, and there's the class of little dongles that have made streaming very easy. What this device does, the Fire Cube, it takes that whole streaming dongle and turns it into a device that powers your entire television system and brings Alexa in there as well. So it kind of smushes a whole bunch of stuff into one. I'm sort of a Luddite. I've got a cable box at home, and I feel like a jerk for even having one, but I do.
I do too.
So I love this product because what it does is it through HDMI CEC, it can control all of your AV system, your home theater system, so your TV, your sound bar, your cable box, whatever it is, and because Alexa's in there, with just one command, Alexa, turn on the TV, it'll turn on all of that stuff and set up your whole experience. And because it's got smart home controls built in as well, because Alexa does that, it can also dim the lights, lower the shades, turn your fridge or your stove to 350, and it won't slide the ham in for you, but it does everything else.
Your future home robot will do that for you, though, after you tell it to. So that's probably coming too. But that is pretty. I mean, I've been kind of a Luddite myself. I mean, I did get an Echo Dot last year. It was a gift. I've since love it now that I had it, but before I thought, you know what, I think I can do without that. Now I'm realizing some of the advantages of it, though, and this kind of thing where I can just sit there and tell it to turn on the television. I don't know. I kind of like this. I mean, the price point's not bad. I think it's $120 when it comes out, or $90 if you're a Prime member. So not too bad of a price, and that's something that I feel like if they market this right, like that's something that could really bring Alexa and that ecosystem into more and more houses.
You know what? Suck. Universal remote controls. They are no fun. Nobody has built a good one ever.
That's true.
I'm sorry, Logitech. You got close, but like
firing shots.
You know, they do that as well as anybody and better. But no, the universal remote control sucks. And but thankfully, today smart TVs are making it easier to control your devices by putting everything on the screen.
Right.
But this device lets you do the basic functions without even having to go find the remote control. Turning the volume up, turning it down, changing inputs. You know, it uses IR repeaters and as Jeremy said, HDMI CEC over an ARC port.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just throw some acronyms out there. But I think this could be a really useful device, and it's smart for Amazon because they're competing with the likes of Roku. And Roku is platform agnostic. It doesn't care, you know, where you want to watch what you want to watch. It just tells you you can watch this stuff at this place for this much money, or it's free. You know, whereas Amazon kind of locks you into their ecosystem. Mm-hmm. They tend to prefer the Amazon content first, and then they'll let you go somewhere else and watch it. But this adds a new value to the thing, and you know, it's better than getting an Echo Dot and connecting an analog audio cable to your receiver or, you know, powered speakers or soundbar or whatever for using it to listen to music, Spotify, Amazon Music or whatever. It's just a much more versatile device. And I think that it definitely is going to earn a place in my AV system. I'm going to give it a nice, thorough run through and see how good it is, where it fails. But you know what else is interesting? Sonos. Everybody knows Sonos. They do the multi-room audio thing better than anybody else, right? And they have that really cool Apple feel to them. They just released something similar, only it's a soundbar. It's like super compact soundbar that doesn't take up much room at all, sounds really big and full. It's going to be the best sounding smart speaker out there that has Alexa, and it's going to do Google Assistant, and it'll do Siri, AirPlay 2, all of this stuff. So all the stuff that the new Amazon Fire TV Cube is going to do, this new Sonos speaker can do it too. So if you don't want just another black box, there's another option that does this cool volume control, input control stuff to a certain degree through a Sonos speaker. And it's interesting because they both came out with this new kind of functionality at exactly the same time. Total coincidence, I'm sure.
Right. Absolutely. Nothing going on there as far as collusion.
Nothing to see here.
All right. Well, so anyway, the Amazon Fire TV Cube itself, you can pre-order it right now. It looks like, June 7th and 8th for a special price of $90.
Greg.
Yes.
My friend. I pre-order. we talk about pre-order for a second. You're not pre-ordering. You're actually ordering it in. I hate that phrase.
True. All right. So ignore that. You can order it, and then it'll arrive sometime in the future.
That's that editor finger
Grammar
coming
police
out.
over here.
I know.
Grammar police are coming for you.
It was on the article. So, all right. So you can order it now on Amazon, and also the Sonos bar, is that out for sale as well?
It is also something that you order now, receive later.
Receive later.
Order now, receive later.
Order
That's a
now,
new-
receive later, just like everything else. But we've got a review of the Fire TV Cube online. Also, we have the Sonos review. I believe it's up as well.
Well, when we received the actual products, Jeremy got to go hands-on. Haven't seen or touched the Sonos Beam myself, but we do have a report coming in from somebody who was there. And then always we get this stuff here at Digital Trends. We put our hands on it. We run it through the ringer, and then we'll let you know just how well it did.
All right. So all that at digitaltrends.com. But now, next week, we have another convention going on, which is E3, the big video game convention. And Hanif is kind of our video game guy here for today. So, Hanif, tell us about 3 things. You grabbed 3 things that you were most excited about for next week.
So, yeah, I'll just go like top down the list. First one is Battlefield V. Yeah, that's right, V. Because
so it's not 5.
No, the V is for victory.
Okay.
A la World War II. And that's going to be the setting for this game. So it's going to be the next installment after their World War I game. Seems to make logical sense. So both Battlefield and Call of Duty had their own releases ahead of E3, ahead of the convention. I think that's going to be a new thing where they like
try to like one up
and it's like kind of do the Apple thing.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. And they're both coming around the similar times there. But I'm picking Battlefield V over Call of Duty for my hype list just because the swirl around it. There's still so many unknowns. Where Call of Duty, we kind of know what we're getting.
Right.
And then next on the list, Super Smash Brothers is coming to Switch. That's pretty cool if you're into that kind of thing, I guess.
I can't remember. Are you a Switch or not a Switch user?
I am definitely not
are the
on the Switch wagon.
When we picked Switch for like product of the year,
that's right.
The debates that ensued were hardcore.
That room got hot and heavy.
Fortunately, Hanif and I here we're on the same side, but I'm telling you, man, it was hard to
steamy.
be.
It was steamy. Matt is
God
outside,
forbid you be anti-Switch.
giving me the stink eye.
Just the phrase "if you're into that kind of thing," that says it all right there. But
no, it's a cool game. And to be fair, Smash Brothers is a super fun game. That's probably the one Nintendo game I do like to play.
Yeah.
And then moving on from there, the third one on my list is Rage 2 from Bethesda. I haven't played the first one. It looks really cool. It's like this post-apocalyptic Mad Max thing going on with super huge weapons and big cars, fast cars. Just looks like total chaos. And it's from the same team that brought us the last Doom game. So it's like ultra violent, super crazy. Super hyped about that one.
So these are the 3 announcements that you're most excited about for next week.
Yeah, and there's a lot of funny thing about E3 is a lot of this stuff comes out a year ahead of time and we forget about it a year later, and then it pops back up again, or sometimes it pops back up again at the next year's convention, which is a lot of the case with a lot of games. Like a lot of the sports games, we always know that there's going to come out each and every year, so that when they bring them to the convention, it's no surprise.
And so what is the convention? I mean, other than hanging out with your gaming homies and wearing costumes and stuff like that, like what's actually being debuted at the convention anymore? I mean, we talk about this CES in the same way. It's like Samsung and LG announced all their great stuff before we got there. Yeah, we get to see it a little bit,
and we knew about it last year.
Yeah, but what is the convention really? What's breaking from the convention? Anything?
Nowadays, not so much. I mean, it's a bigger opportunity for smaller developers and publishers to get some shine now, because what we know about the big publishers is, again, it's stuff that they put out well in advance that we already know about. So there's not much new stuff there. I think, sadly, to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, it's something that we do a lot in journalism, where we just like to pat each other on the back and do that kind of thing. So,
I guess. No new hardware? Is it not a hardware year?
No. They typically don't do hardware at E3.
No?
No.
Okay.
So new games though that maybe you'll get hands on that you haven't had hands on before.
Yeah, and then we got a team going out there as well, and there will be a couple hands-ons coming back from there. I'm pretty sure we're going to get some hands-on time with the new FIFA. We should get hands-on time with, I believe we're getting Rage 2 and probably Black Ops as well. So
Awesome.
I would stay tuned for those.
What about the new Leisure Suit Larry game? Is that
We don't talk about Larry.
is that coming back? Jeremy knows what I'm talking about because
I know what you're talking about. And just to recap, I'm over here playing with my Legos, and you're playing Rage 2.
All right. Well, and Hanif, when's your show?
Nice.
Yeah, I do a gaming stream every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And we're doing it on Twitch.
Awesome. So tune in and watch Hanif play some games and check that out. And again, thanks everybody for tuning into this show. We do the show live every Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific here at Digital Trends in Portland, and we love it having the interactive part of it. But we also have the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast version. That is really great if you can do that. Leave us a review. And tomorrow, live at 2 p.m. Pacific, we'll have Between the Streams, talking about movies and entertainment, get you set up for the weekend. Excuse me, noon. I forgot we changed times. Noon, 12 o'clock Pacific is when we'll be live for that one. So adjust your calendars for that. And Jeremy, thanks for joining us too via the robot.
Via the robot.
He is doing the robot right now. That is what you're missing out on. So, all right, thanks everybody. We'll be back next week with another episode.
I love that he has to contain his robot.
It's got to stay in frame.
It was in the frame. Yeah, it was good framing.